We're back with King Prophet and Cosmic Consciousness. Now, tonight's question is, why do people have this notion of fearing God?
This is a good question. And not only I'm going to tell you why do people have this notion of fearing God, I'm going to tell you where it came from. Now, let's just ask ourselves, why would we fear God? For one, we're talking about a being that's loving, caring, forgiving, just anything that you could possibly think of in a positive sense. This is what this being is like. So the question is, why would you fear God? Now, I know why you're going to fear God. The reason why most people fear God is because they've been taught to fear God. Just like most kids are taught racism. It's the same thing. So what you have to learn how to do is, like I said, reprogram yourself from the things that you've been taught. You've been taught to fear God, and that comes from religion. I don't know where else it really comes from. It's strong, but the fear of God comes very strong from religion. I went to church. I used to go to church. So I picked it up there. But I didn't stay with it very long because it didn't make no sense. That's why I had to leave, because it made no sense to me whatsoever. Actually, it's funny and it's ridiculous to fear a God that loves you. Now, most people are going to try to explain the type of fear and why you should fear God. Like, for instance, maybe if you sinned and you did something wrong, now you should be afraid that God is going to send you to hell just for making a mistake. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't sound right if we know we all make mistakes. That's what life is all about, learning and growing. You're going to make mistakes. Now, are you going to go to hell for it? You know what I mean? And then who's the judge of this? Who's telling you you're going to hell besides another person? Because God ain't telling you you're going to hell. God ain't never once told any of y'all that y'all was going straight to hell. Because if he was, y'all would be more scared than what you are in today's world. Anyway, he ain't never said that. This is the reason why the world is so confused. Because they don't really have a connection to God. They believe in God, but they're not connected to God. Like, for instance, if we're all God's children, we're the children of a supreme being. So that must mean that we must be a supreme being too. We're just not the supreme being. I mean, why is this so hard for y'all to grasp? For real. Why is it so hard for you to believe that you can be a God, but not the God, knowing that you come from God and you are a child of God? You see what I'm saying? If you just stop to think about this stuff for once and just instead of going with what you was taught for all of these years. This is the reason most people can't connect to God. Because they don't believe that they are gods. Now, Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is within you. Meaning God is in you. And the kingdom of heaven is within you. You can find that within yourself if you choose to take the journey of going within. Not listening to everything without. And for these past 2,000 years and beyond, most people have been listening to without. That's why they don't know who they are from within. Like, a good question that I ask people, like, who are you? A lot of people don't even know who they are. The first thing they're going to give you is a title, or they'll tell you their name, or they'll say some accomplishment of who they are. I'm this. That's not what I mean by who you are. When people ask me that question, who I am, you know how I respond to that question? I respond, I am light, because I bring light into this dark world and try to get you to see things in a different perspective that's more positive. So I'm bringing light. I'm love because I love to do this. I love being able to share knowledge and wisdom that God has given to me. to help enlighten and awaken people. And the other thing is I am happy because I'm happy from within. I see the outside world. Trust me, I've been on this planet for 53 years. But I don't live from the outside in. I live from the inside out. This is where my happiness comes from. This is where my knowledge comes from. This is where my wisdom comes from. So, when Jesus wanted you to go within yourself, he wants you to connect to the God within you. And he wants you to raise your consciousness to his. Not saying he's going to come back and save you. He wants you to raise your consciousness to the Christ consciousness. Why is this so hard or something that people just refuse to try and do? Try it. For real, try it. Try to raise your consciousness to Christ. It's really not hard raising your consciousness to Christ because all you have to do is think in a way that Christ would think. You don't have to respond to everything in a negative way. You can respond positive if that's what you choose. It's just the majority of you do not choose this because you're caught up in the physical world and its conditioning of your mind, which keeps you in the lower vibration of hate, jealousy, envy, competition. That's the big thing, competition. Everybody in the physical world is always competing. Who are you competing with? Because it's definitely not yourself. Because if you were competing with yourself, you would learn how to go within yourself and learn how to raise your consciousness and connect to your God self. How many people on this planet is really interested in doing those things outside of figuring out ways to make money? Do you see what I mean by you have to change the way you look at things? So, I'm going to wrap this video up because I didn't want to make it too long anyways. I just want to make people understand or get them to understand there is no need for you to fear God. This is why you don't know him, because you fear him. And you've been taught that, oh, he's a mean God or he's going to send you to hell and all this. I mean, it just sounds absurd to me. Now, the saying is, as it is in heaven, as it is on earth. Do you think there are Bibles in heaven? I'm just saying, I've never heard of anybody that had a near-death experience tell me that there were Bibles in heaven. Why would they need them? So, as it is in heaven, as it is on earth. So, the Bible is just a tool to getting you to the bridge. You still have to cross it. So do not put your whole life into a book that's just a tool to getting you to the bridge. Because once again, like I said, I still haven't met one Christian or religious person yet that have told me that they have found the kingdom of heaven within them and that they have raised their consciousness to the Christ consciousness. So until any of you Christians can tell me this, to me, I don't really think you care about Christ, because that's what his teachings was, and that's what he talked about all along. To this day, you guys still won't do this. You will sit back and keep going to Scripture. Well, Scripture says. Well, Scripture says. Okay, well, what did Christ say? He said, raise your consciousness to the Christ consciousness and connect to your God self, the God within you. I'm telling you, if you do this, you will see the world in a whole totally different perspective. You have no choice but to. But you got to be wanting to do it. So until you do, you're never going to know. And you will continue to fear God. Because I'm telling you right now, I've never feared God. Ever. Regardless of what the Bible taught. It just didn't even make any sense to me. Especially knowing and being in the presence and feeling his love. Well, I'm going to fear somebody that love me. If I do something wrong, that's something I do wrong. I have to pay the price for that. And that don't mean God's going to sit up there and punish me. You punish yourself. Because you feel bad within yourself because you know you did it wrong. Now, instead of you just getting it right, you want to go and ask God to forgive you. Why don't you forgive you and get it right? How about that? You see what I'm saying? You have to change how you see things and change your perspective. Stop living in a world of fear, being afraid of God. This is why the majority of the human beings cannot ascend and elevate, because their consciousness is stuck in a vibration of fear of a God that loves them. It's crazy. But hey, to each his own. If you want to stay in that world of fear, then you stay in that world of fear. But don't bring it to other people that don't want to hear that. God is nowhere a fearful God to be fearing all the love he has for us if you just choose to take the journey and go within yourself and connect with him. That's what you got to do. You got to go within yourself and connect. So, I'm going to say this. It's time for y'all to stop believing in God and just start connecting to God. And I guarantee you, you will know God when you connect to God, not just believing in him. You've been believing in him long enough. Don't you think it's time for you to start connecting to him, the God within yourself? So now that you can have some knowledge and some wisdom and be able to adjust in this world that we're living in right now due to all this crazy stuff going on in the physical sense, people running around in this demon time stupid talk. I mean, you see that world collapsing. It's like Jesus said, come ye out of this world. That means come out of there. Get out of the physical world. You can live in the spirit world and be here physically. It can be done. A lot of people have done that. I'm one of the ones that been doing it. You can live in the physical world, but look at it more in a spiritual sense and flow that way. You can do that. I'm sorry a lot of you haven't learned how to expand your awareness, because that's where this comes from. You haven't learned how to expand your awareness. You're only aware of what you see in front of you. You're not aware of how to go within yourself and see more. So please, stop fearing God because it's ridiculous. And find the time to stop and rest so you can pass heaven's test. Or else this physical world will wear you down where you cannot hear the smallest sound. And when the force speaks to you, you're going to miss the meaning and not follow through. This is why I tell you guys this stuff, so you can get the meaning, so you can start following through and come out of the physical world like Jesus said, and ascend and help raise the frequency and the vibration so we can move into that next consciousness altogether, the Christ consciousness. Stop waiting for somebody to come and save you. It's not going to happen that way. I know you don't want to hear it, but it is what it is. You have to put the work in. You have to raise your vibration, your frequency, and your consciousness. So, if you want to make it to the new heaven and on earth, time to get to work. Thank you.